Hi Sagittarius, welcome back for your toolkit for the twin flame journey. Now, these videos will differ every month, as well as if you do want to look at the full chart, go through to YILDIZ readings, the link will be above. And that'll cover the entirety of the chart, but I've had to really break it down for your astrology as to how it's going to directly affect you. So I've tried to make it as simple as possible. It will expand, obviously, as time permits, so to speak. Again, but if you do book a reading, I can go in depth into the chart and your twin's chart of what I have in front of me. And really fine point and key point the things both psychically and astrologically speaking. Now, one of the most important things in the twin flame journey is meditation, okay? A lot of times what's going on is when we're in our pain body, we're having the upgrade. When we are dealing with triggers, again, it's due to past tense situations. So if you've got blocks, come through, book a reading. The link will be below. Another thing I can talk about is really starting to find out what your placement of your North Node is. Now, you can do that through a birth calculator over the internet, or book a session with me and I can locate it for you. Provide me with the information prior, which is after you book the reading, I'll inbox you and I'll ask you, okay, what are your birth date, etc., and we can go from there. How to locate it is finding basically your rising sign, and then the crossover on the chart will be your South Node. So, for instance, my rising sign is Cancer. So on the wheel of the 12 zodiac signs, when you look at Cancer, which is below, directly across is Capricorn. So Capricorn in my younger years would have been where I was operating from, but what I was needing to move into in a sense of a frequency imbalance was very much the aspects of being a Cancerian. And they're more from past life energy. So knowing your North Node in your twin flame journey is very important. Following astrology can help you understand why you're reacting, if the trigger points are directly connected to you, if they're connected to the twin, which again I've key pointed in your chart of where you're going to get downloads, etc. Try and work with the moon and the sun frequency, as well as allow Saturn to really help you see things that you know as truth, but utilize other planets to actually help you expand and spiritually grow to get you onto the right track. Now, obviously, psychically speaking, when I do get the downloads, I come live. I have placed the videos as to each zodiac sign, what's happening in the twin flame journey separate, but I will incorporate these later where they'll be together, or I might just, for easier, simpler terms, just do them in this format also. So what I am seeing is the yin and the yang, which is the sun and the moon frequency. Each month is very important for you to do the work in that frequency. Now, there's dark and light in both. So even when you're in the frequency of the moon energy, and we're moving into moon's time frames, like full moon, new moon, one is which we actually manifest from, which is coming through on the 6th of January. There is going to be a partial solar eclipse. Again, that's going to create some changes. I'll go into that. So that's more about your aspect of your manifestation. But being a partial eclipse, that energy will flow through for the next 6 months. On the 21st, we're going to have a total lunar eclipse. Now that, again, is a release where we're actually letting things go at coming tower moments. And it can be epiphanies we're actually directly having. And again, I'll describe it in the chart. So when we're having the sun and the moon energy, the sun is connected to the egoic state, but the masculine frequency, the moon, is connected to the feminine. Doing the work on both sides, in the shadow and the light with the sun frequency, because there's the lower frequencies of the sun energy, which is our fear-based egoic places where we're coming from. So again, I'll talk about that. And then the same with the moon. There's the fear-based frequencies of I don't know, I don't trust my intuition. And then there's the higher realms of, where we're actually having that time to meditate, having the time to actually reflect on what we know to be true, which is almost like Saturn, really, because it's knowing the truth beyond the 3D reality of where we stand right now and what we need to do to turn into our best version of ourselves. So I am finding when we're falling into 4D energy, which is fear-based frequencies, it's literally in every house where we physically feel we're uncertain and we don't trust ourselves. So when we are moving towards the aspect of trust, we are governing ourselves in a more correct format. Although what you're finding is near the eclipses, you might have a descend and then an ascend. So it can be nausea connected to sort of like an upgrade of your energy, especially when you're releasing something. What you will find is you are energetically very tired. It can be all of a sudden you're getting hungry. That's your body having an upgrade after purging something. So you'll get super hungry. You'll have more frequency and energy. Sometimes you can even gain weight, but it will purge off. But it's really creating that source energy for you to hold you through for the next month. So just trust in the process, but try not to get too triggered if there's the excess and then the depletion where you're really not wanting it. Just go with the flow and the equilibrium of what's coming through for you. Now, what is coming through for you? So on the 1st of January, the moon's going to be in Capricorn, and that's where I'm saying we're going to have the solar eclipse, so the partial solar eclipse. Now, there's two houses that it's governing for you personally. It's the 2nd and the 8th house. Now, again, you do need to get your root chakra and your third eye chakra balanced. And really, it's probably very important for the whole month to keep all chakras balanced, because there is a lot of changes coming. We're moving into the new year going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Where is the connection with my twin? Again, cross-reference between their chart and see what's coming through in their energy. And I can tell you if there's lower frequencies, higher frequencies, etc. So with the 2nd and the 8th house with the solar eclipse, partial, it's an energy where you're going to have the epiphany of what is and what isn't working. It's going to be fine-tuning and tweaking it where you can actually work on that for the next 6 months. So it's almost like the Lionsgate portal. You know, there's that time frame after. So whatever you're manifesting, whatever you're working on, what you're moving towards. So the interesting thing is it's your finances and possessions. And it's other people's kind of assistance. It's where other people can actually come into the situation, what's ending, what you need to end. It could be jobs, it could be the way in which you're creating things, and really your ability to bounce back through that. So it's actually almost like testing your whole foundation, which is interesting because it's a root frequency, but also your intuition, trusting in your intuition of what you need to do and how you can physically move your foundation forward to be prepared for what's to come. Now, just because it's saying it's a 6-month projection, I'm more feeling knowing what you need to do to make everything correct and ready. The correct and ready of when twin comes in is divinely guided for you. Working with your North Node is the key to getting on track to your twin flame journey. If you're moving into that frequency and you're in alignment and you're no longer operating from a place of fear base ego, you're going to find you're more open to that person having their upgrade and changing. Because simultaneously you tend to upgrade yourselves at the same time. So when you're in fear-based frequency, can't we just get along? Can't we just get this flowing? It's where we're looking at the other person and we're thinking somehow subliminally they can actually fix things. If we were just together, blah, 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 everything's going to be fine. And yes, in a normal 3D relationship, that's so. In a twin flame relationship, following your North Node, moving into the frequency of what your rising sign is, what your destiny was supposed to be, very separate to your twin, helps you get into union 20 times faster. So whatever this is, financially, you know, your base, your foundation, what other people can bring to the table, what mentally needs to go where you're not lagging that through an old frequency into the new year. That's really going to be switched up. It can be a mind shift, a switch, but it can be energetically exhausting. And I do feel fast-paced energy moving into January. That's probably why a lot of us in 2018 were extremely tired in the last 3 weeks. The second total eclipse is going to be on the 21st, and it's going to be in Leo. Now, the houses it governs is the 8th and the 9th house. Again, I'm saying root chakra and third eye, keep grounded, you know, follow your intuition, but don't be in a place where you jump the gun. And the reason I'm saying that is because whatever's being shifted, it can be them, it can be you, it can be movement in your 3D life. Trust in the process, but don't make brash decisions, because what is happening is a realignment, not necessarily a complete ending, more a shift in the whole dynamic of situations. So it's falling in your 8th house and your 9th house, as I said, and it's connected to other people's resources. It can be death. It can be your bounce back abilities. It can be showing you where you do have limitations, where maybe it's not in your domain to actually sort something, maybe it's in another's. So if you're getting into and I always talk about this from the perspective of when you're working with your twin or thinking about your twin and you're tuning more so into what they need to fix, you're in doctor patient mode, and that can't be so, because then you're still in the healing process. When you can actually look at it from the perspective of, no, I'm actually in my entirety, I'm very much open to a connection, you're more in alignment with your feminine and masculine, which is Wei Wu energy. So like I said, it's very important to understand how you're looking at your twin, which is how you're looking at you, the mirror. And when you can do the work in that area, it does help you actually get on balance. So it can be tower moments around these times, and the communication sector is very much highlighted around that time. So around, I'd say, the 19th to the 24th, be super careful about the ego of, you know, how you communicate, especially since communication is coming up in your sun sign. It's in your third house, which is third, fifth, and ninth, which is communication, romance, children, higher education, and religion. So your belief systems, what you've learned in the journey, your connection, if there's children involved in it, if you want children with them. If you're triggered and you think certain things need to look a certain way, that's the lower frequency, fear-based frequency. So always check yourself. If you're looking at something and you're going, wow, tower moment happening, and you're coming from fear, you need to breathe and bring the energy back down. You need to then go red, stop, meditate, think. Yellow, process. Green, proceed forward. So don't jump the gun, especially near this time, especially since the sun and the ego, which is it can be at the higher or lower, but it's really what you've got to work on energetically. The total eclipse is what energetically needs to go. Twin doesn't go. If you're a real twin, your twin doesn't go. The excess, the energy, the codependency, it's all squeezed out of you like a sponge. So it's part of your spiritual process. Mercury in the communication sector is in your 2nd, 7th, and 10th house. Now, again, I'm saying third eye and I'm saying root chakra. So this is going to be covering your communication connected to finances, your belief system. So it's even your belief system, and any blocks you spiritually have may come up, good or bad, because again, it is coming into the 5th. So it's still near the solar eclipse. So again, meditate upon that. It's a manifestation time. So anything that you communicate is going to be caught in a sense of a manifestation, and it's going to be one of those things that you need to speak truth, not what your fears are, what you're actually energetically wishing to manifest. So be very careful in your communication style around the 5th. I'd say from the 1st to the middle of the month, right? And that's because whatever you're speaking, you're transmuting, you're going to get back very quickly, especially with the solar eclipse. So anything governing your money, your partner, your spouse, other people, the way you perceive yourself, come to a clear view of how you see yourself, but not in a lower frequency. If you energetically feel you need to change something, that can be your parents, that can be your health, your weight, whatever you feel it is. Check in with yourself, especially when it comes to your belief systems. It could be even what you feel could be blocking you spiritually, because 9 times out of 10 when we feel it's something our twin needs or wants or desires, it's generally what our opinion is, not what their opinion is. So it's fear-based pain body experience from childhood. So again, around that time, especially when it comes to your employment, your manifestation, whatever you're wanting, follow you in order to move you forward. As long as you're focusing and prioritizing yourself, if you're having pain body experiences, which is triggers of your opinion or feelings of the twin flame journey, you need to look at why you're refusing to look at things that are important to you. And that can be quite painful at times. And it is very much why we end up being in pain body experiences, because we're thinking, gosh, I'm looking at this very 3D. This is my relationship. This is my one person. Why can't I have this person? It's not you can't. part of the process of the twin flame journey is to actually get you out of a certain state vibrationally. So even if we are looking at it as a 3D relationship, it is. But what I'm trying to say is it can only really get there when you spiritually can evolve to a point where you're at peace with yourself, where you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm the best version of myself, where you're not in the fear-based frequency and there's no push and pull, there's no runner-chaser mode going on. So it's ending that cycle to a point. You don't feel the need to chase the person that you know you're worth, and you know that when everything's aligned correctly, it's all going to come and it will all be very balanced, because you can't lose your twin. During pain body experiences through the journey, sometimes you wish you could lose that mentally, cognitively, 5D wise, 3D wise, because it can be a very painful experience. But, you know, true twins will come to an understanding that you can never lose your twin. Part of the reason you're a twin is for you to have your upgrade, so you can't avoid that. So even if you do choose not to be on the twin flame journey, it's not going to eliminate the factor that you have to upgrade. So some have split, where, you know, we're in the pain body experience and we're going, look at this, I'm not doing it. That does not immunize you against your spiritual growth. You will end up doing that spiritual growth with another human being with the same experiences of twin, not necessarily exactly the same, but where they need to pull that pain out of your body. And then when you're energetically aligned, it will help show you perhaps why twin was coming from certain egoic pain body experiences. So you'll almost live similar things that they've lived, and then you'll come to a peaceful place of not wanting to run, really wanting to do the work. So it depends on what part of the journey you're on. Okay, so on the 24th of January, you have Mercury in Aquarius. Now, third eye, root chakra. Again, keep your chakras balanced, drink water, try and have smoothies, and that's going to actually help you cope with the ascension, descension symptoms, and the downloads you're going to get from your twin. You're going to need to have the meditation time each week in order to, or at least 20 minutes, half an hour a day at the end of the day, to tune into how you feel in any given moment. If you can't listen to yourself, you're not acknowledging yourself as something as a priority, and it's going to directly affect you. Now, your 2nd, your 7th, and your 10th house is affected in this area with Mercury, with planet of communication. You need to be careful in relation to your finances and how you communicate. So really communicate very directly with people involved with cash components. So it might be with your people that you work for, people you owe money to. Deal with it in a very direct fashion. Really look into any emails you've sent. Make sure that you've ticked all the boxes, okay? Because that's going to be a cross-wide time during that time. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's near the total eclipse. So it can be that you're finalizing things in a sense of your opinions, your beliefs, of money. It might be signing contracts, starting new situations, especially with total eclipses becoming an aspect of an ending and a new beginning in some shape or form. Partnerships, other people, maybe their interactions directly connected to you and how their involvement has assisted or taken away from your spiritual growth and your perspective of your public image and work. So what you're putting out is what we're getting back. Just be careful around that time. I'm feeling especially with communication. So anything connected to public speaking, you know, people might have cross wires when it comes to it. They might misinterpret it. It can bode at a higher frequency better, in a sense that you may gain your finances moving forward. Partnerships may start balancing out. Your opinion of it might, but because it's near the eclipse, I'm thinking it's more an energy of energetically what you need to let go of. Now with Saturn, this is about our truth, and it's about the reality of the situation. It's going to be in Capricorn, and it is with you need to get grounded. And I'm also seeing sacral chakra. Now, this is in your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd house. So it's, you know, the truth connected to who you are, what your abilities are, etc. And if you don't, Saturn is going to help you actually understand that. They're going to help you come into your sense of self. That really, with Saturn, it's almost like we're having to be that. We're having to be independent We're having to understand ourselves and how we operate and our dark and light side and come to peace with that. Dealing with any financial obligations that we have and what we want to invest in, what we think our self-worth is. Also, the way in which we communicate. Are we communicating from a pain body experience, or are we communicating from the heart in a sense of compassion and understanding? Again, the meditation helps you comprehend what transpired, especially when we're in pain body experience, and how to directly process it and understand the other person's point of view. It's not saying it's right. It's saying, you know, when we're in pain body experience, what happens is things that go down between our twin and ourselves usually is to do with a previous painful experience and not wanting that connection because it's too energetic. It's also fear-based frequencies of you have more potential to hurt me than another person does because this feels simpler, and that can even be when we're in a karmic relationship or a soulmate relationship where we know a certain person is our one, and that at that time is our spiritual truth, but we're choosing to stay in that situation regardless. Saturn won't allow that to happen because your part of your spiritual growth is to be truthful to yourself and really coming into alignment with who your clan is and who your clan's not, okay? Jupiter, again, expansion. Now, it's going to be in Sagittarius, which is its own home sign. Again, for you, this is going to be very good. It is going to be where you are going to grow emotionally, okay? And that is within yourself. So you're going to find out a lot of things about yourself. You're really going to want to discover. Some of you might even be venturing out and actually creating your own businesses. Some of you directly in the 4th house also are looking at any previous, and I'm hearing previous, domestic related situations that were in balance. It can be your 3D situation right now, and you're saying, okay, is this a place I can create from? That can be the home environment you're currently living in. If it's not, what am I going to do to create that healthy, firm foundation for myself? It may be moving house. Again, it's in sacral chakra. It can be connected to parents and endings, and you know, it might be you're moving home and you're looking at that and going, is this really where I want to start from? You know, is this really where I want to remain? What am I going to do from here onwards? Again, with the sun and the moon frequency, it can do with parent figures moving into 2019. 2018 was almost ending an era connected to our old wounds, right? So I call it the emergency department. 2019 is the recovery ward and the movement forward. Knowing that you are going to be in a different frequency is going to be better than what it was last year, but different. Now, Pluto is very much, it's where endings and new beginnings start, and it's our bounce back effect. And in the twin flame journey and collectively, all of us are going to have to learn how to think on our feet, how to use the tools we've had in previous years, utilize them in the here and now, and actually implement them to move forward in our lives. So what you will find is, if you know that something needs to change and you don't directly deal with it, Saturn will come in and it's actually going to say, hey, parent figure, I've got to show you, you know that this needs to change. Universe gives us 3 warnings. So even if energetically we wanted to check out of the twin flame journey, if you're a true twin, the interesting thing is 12th house will show up, and it has in your chart. It doesn't have to be that, look, if the 12th house doesn't come up, you're not. But it's more in a sense that if you are a twin flame, no matter what you do, somehow energetically you will be plugged back into them and you'll get downloads connected to what they're doing. The end of January was very quiet. Not January. The end of 2018, December, I would say. Probably from October onwards, it started getting quieter. It was almost like with certain pockets, it was the shock, you know, of, wow, you know, what just happened? What did we just go through? It's like these epiphanies, especially for masculines. Like, wow, how do I feel about this? What was my perspective? And that can be for feminines too, of really looking back and releasing the old. We were moving out of almost a decade with particular planets in Scorpio, maybe even longer. So it was almost the darker, deep realm of our cardinal needs, our opinions of ourselves, our fear-based frequencies was really coming to the surface, and it was the death of ego, moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius. So that transition can feel almost like a funeral of the old life, and that's as of your whole life, not just the connection and the twin flame journey. So it was very sort of uneasy feeling moving into 2019. Now Pluto in Capricorn is in your 2nd, 5th and 12th house. Now your 2nd house is your money, your land, your resources. It can be your possessions. With the 5th house, it's children, romance and your creativity. With the 12th house, lower frequency, it can be connected to cheating. And energetically, what I'm seeing, any lower frequencies that you tune into, it's asking you to let it go. Let it go, process it, let it go. In an energetic setting, if you are operating in lower frequencies, it's going to affect you and it will be coming to an end, because there's endings and new beginnings, but you don't want to recreate a new karmic cycle. So it's a choice you may need to make. It also is connected to your telepathic connection. So you might find you're staying up quite late at night and you're wondering why. It's because you are intuitively connected to everything around you. So you will feel the vibrations of everything around you and it'll drive you batshit crazy. So the only time you can actually operate, meditate, think is going to be in the darker realms of the evening, because it's quiet and you're not actually having the energies directly tag onto you where you can sense their frequencies. But it is the telepathic communication in with twin, knowing something's ending on their side, knowing something's changing. So follow your intuition when it comes to that, okay? Tune into it, and that's for the whole month. Neptune in Pisces, really governing the aspects of the illusions, is your 2nd house, which is the foundation of it all. You're somehow feeling energetically, and this is a pocket of you, that you can end the twin flame journey because it's 3D. No, you can't. If you're a true twin, it doesn't end, okay? People say, how many twins have come into union? How many twins have actually, done the work? If you're doing the work energetically and you use the tools and you do everything you can and you're not in that push-pull energy and you're not chasing feminine or masculine, whatever, you are, and you're actually doing the work on yourself and you're going, okay, I've had my reflection time, you always come back together. Reunion is different to union. Wave 3, union is different to reunion. Reunion's the work. If you follow your north node and you move towards that, you will end up getting union, okay? When you're looking at it 2-3D of what's right, what's wrong, it's our egoic state projecting of our belief systems, and it can be directly connected to our childhood. So it can be we're assessing it, addressing it, judging it. Cheating, for example, we can be saying, hey, the way I've been raised, that's wrong. And it's really strange, not in a good way. How do I put it? From the perspective of being a twin, it really will push you beyond your belief systems. It'll shred them down like an onion to help you understand what love is. So love is not about what you can do for another person. Love is it's not even give and take. It's nothing. It's a feeling. So don't ever question yourself just because they haven't come to you in a certain way. That is about them. That's not about you. In a way it is, because you're taking it personal. So if you're taking things personal, you're still operating from the lower frequency. But if you can understand that a lot of the way they're coming is because of their pain from their childhood and things they're dealing with, and while we're being the nurse or the doctor, we actually can't have a relationship with that person because that person's still healing and it's unfair to them and yourself. So it's about having that self-awareness and going, look, there's no time frame on love. It doesn't end. If it's true love, it doesn't end. But having enough love for yourself to have the time to heal, and having enough love for them to understand that they are going through something right now, and it's only something they can address when they're opening up and communicating. Now, your communication sector is looking better. When it does come to something changing, it can be connected to a karmic end, which, if you're wondering, is your twin in a connection, interconnectedly in the 12th house, I would say you're going to intuitively know, and I feel by mid-month, what's going on. Neptune and Pisces of the illusions, the way you're perceiving the foundation is going to change. So let go of the illusion of what you think the foundation is and allow it naturally to unfold. Don't keep going back into the ego saying it's just a dream, it's not real, because that's actually recreating that illusion and delusion. I'm hearing disillusionment. You're looking at how it directly impacted you in a psychological format, which again is pain body experience. What I am actually saying is, you know, it might be a front we have at some point. And again, I'm getting the download that it could be a front that they're physically having in relation to the reasons why they're not moving forward. But trust the process. Don't get caught up in illusions. Know that when it comes to foundations, what you know is a foundation and what others may say is a foundation is a very different thing. But don't come from an egoic sense. Really have your third eye and your sacral chakra balanced. I'm hearing don't get caught up by the passion. Yes, follow your third eye, but look at the foundation of it. If it's not grounded, take your time. When it does come to Uranus and Taurus, now this is a very interesting placement, and it's heart chakra and crown chakra. Now it does come into your communication sector, and that is the third house, and it comes into your sixth house, which is your jobs, the give and take, health, and obviously work. Now with this is where you're going to be growing, because, you know, Uranus is all about, you know, our growth and where we need to expand, but being in Taurus, it's not going to feel comfortable doing that. So some of you, again, as I was tuning into, it was that some of you may be venturing out on a business. Okay, so masculines and feminines collectively, I'm feeling probably heavier on the masculine side, but again, it can still directly correlate with feminine energies as well. But it's also looking at where you need to grow, what you might not want to change, but what you might need to tweak and change. And especially if that is actually covered in your the partial solar eclipse. If you're working on something, you're thinking this just isn't in alignment with me, it may be a transitional stage that's going to take 6 months to move it into a place where you feel comfortable. And it may be you're doing something very basic right now to get the bread and butter on the table, to get your foundation correct so that you can physically move forward. When it does come to your communication, perhaps you need to look at a different way in order to communicate and understand it's a 5D connection, especially with the crown chakra and the heart chakra. So follow your heart when it comes to the bigger picture, and understand that communication doesn't just come down to 3D communication, but hear your guides and ask for help. It was really coming through very strongly. December, I was actually seeing a lot of people actually having asked universe for signs, but they weren't actually asking it anymore. So it was old signs coming through, and it was like a lot of what was coming up in the cards was ask your guides, ask your guides. So do try and connect, and that's why I always say meditation is quite important for you on your twin flame journey. Now Mars and Aries on the 1st of January is going to be in your 5th and your 12th house. So it's what you're going to be fighting for. And again, it can be this spiritual connection, children, romance, and creativity. Venus and Sagittarius, that is going to be in your 1st house, your 6th house, 11th and 12th, again, twin flame, 12th. This is how I'm correlating it, all lower frequencies of what went down, meditating upon that, trying to not recreate karmic endings in any shape and form. If it's past tense frequency, current tense, try not to recreate that karmic cycle. Be aware if you're coming from a pain body experience, try not to recreate that, but also do be mindful in your Venus house, meditating upon it at night time. You're going to get downloads connected to it, but you need the white noise gone, because you feel a lot when it comes to people. People also may be energetically coming towards you and talking to you when you really need to feel your own energy. Throat chakra, root chakra for Mars, especially when it comes to anything you're wanting to fight for, you really need to communicate correctly, not from a place of ego. Assertively so, I'm being shown, but keeping grounded. Venus is covering yourself, you know, your means, your abilities, who you are to the core. In the 6th house, it's your work and your health. The 11th is your actual group of people that you're surrounding yourself with, be it you're getting rid of people or you're wanting them. It's who you're mixing with. You're really going to be more selective about who you're mixing with and your interconnection with source. Now, the wounds that's going to come up is Chiron. So looking at a chart for you guys, the things I would look at, especially when you're listening to astrology, is the node placement. It would definitely be for pain body and past life, Chiron. Sun and moon frequencies to balance your feminine and your masculine polarities of yourself. All your chakras, at least when you're feeling energetically something's blocked, like you're getting a headache, or it can be throat aches, and anywhere from hair to hair is heart and throat chakra, okay? Because you've got the higher heart, which is Chiron. Then all of your lower chakras, when you're operating really heavily from a place of ego, you're going to have to keep the base chakra area, the middle range, really grounded and know if you're coming from the place of ego. Okay, so really governing that correctly, knowing where the wounds are. Chiron is going to help you see those areas. Now, it's falling under your 1st house, which is your opinions about yourself and what your potential is. So it can be you meditating upon it. Maybe you are regretful that you operated in certain ways or other people did and it's hurt you, it's affected your self-esteem. So it's something might be coming up around the eclipse and the solar eclipse. Again, you've got your financial sector, your communication, and the direct foundation of what past tense went through. If this is coming up for you by clearing your chakras, facing it head on, and doing the work, it's going to help release it for good. But try not to take it with you, especially through 2019. If you're going back into it, gain wisdom from it, release it, and keep moving. Otherwise, book a reading and I'll do the work with you. Otherwise, I'll see you live on the channel.